Take a look at this Unix command. If you've never seen something like this before, it probably looks like gibberish. Random dashes and letters, a file name, and a path. This is a Unix command. Although it may look complicated, this command, like all other commands in Unix, is built from the same building blocks. Once you know what those pieces are, you can read any command like a sentence. By the end of this video, you'll be able to look at that line again and understand what it's doing. Now let's start with those building blocks. Every Unix command follows the same basic shape. You first have the command, followed by one or more options, also called flags, which are then followed by your arguments. Let's look at a familiar example. Here, ls is the command. That's the program we're using. This command stands for list and is used to display the files and directories either within your current directory or a specified path. -l is an option or a flag. It changes how the command behaves. And /users is the argument. That's what the command is acting on. In this case, /users is our specified path. Command, option, arguments. That's it. That's the core anatomy of a Unix command. Everything else is just variations on the same pattern. One thing that I want to mention is that options and arguments are often optional. You can just type ls, and that's a complete valid command on its own. No options, no arguments needed. This command will assume that you want to list all directories at the location you're currently at. In addition to formatting, Unix commands are case sensitive. ls and capital LS are not the same thing. See? Totally different as far as your system is concerned. This also applies to spaces. You must have spaces between the command, flag, and argument. However, if you have a file or directory that contains a space in its name, you must use quotation marks, or else Linux will think you've moved on to a new flag or argument. As a general rule, avoid spaces in your names at all costs. They're super annoying. Now let's talk about options and flags. These are how you customize a command's behavior. There are two main styles you'll run into. First, short flags. These use a single dash and a single letter. That gives the long format listing, more detail per file. ls-a shows hidden files too, the ones that start with a dot. Here's something that's really useful. You can combine short flags together instead of writing them separately. This does exactly the same thing as writing ls-l-a separately. Same result, less typing. The second type of flag is a long flag. These use double dash and a full word, which makes them a bit more readable, but are slower to type. --all has the same effect as -a, just spelled out, and you'll often see commands support both a short and long version of the same flag. Also with flags, sometimes you need information attached to the flag, such as a path or a file name. This is a type of argument that's sometimes called a variable. For example, here, -f says, the next thing is a file name, and example -tar is that value. With long flags, you'll sometimes see this written with an equal sign instead, especially in bioinformatics software. Now, on to arguments. These are the things that your command actually acts on. Files, folders, text, whatever the command needs to do its job. Some commands take a single argument, like ls/users. Others take multiple, and the order often matters. For example, copying a file. cp is our copy command, then the first argument is what data we are copying, and the second is where the new file goes and what it's named. Swap them, and your command will probably not find destination.txt since it doesn't exist yet. And sometimes you can pass a whole list of arguments at once. For example, the remove command. This removes all 3 files in one command. The pattern is always the same. The command figures out what to do, and the arguments tell it what to do it too. So you might be wondering, how does she know what all these flags are and what they do? The secret is not that I memorize every flag for every command. No one does that. Instead, you can use Unix to look things up. Every command has a manual built right into your system, and you can access that with the command man. This opens a full manual page, every option explained in detail. Press Q to quit out when you're done. If you need a quick reminder instead of a full manual, most commands have a flag --help built in to also give you that information. Usually this method gives you a shorter, faster cheat sheet right in the terminal. Most importantly, experiment. Try flags. Don't be afraid of throwing a bunch of error messages. The terminal is a lot less scary once you're used to poking at it. Okay, let's go back to where we started. We have this long, multi-flag containing command. This used to look like nonsense, but now we can start to break it down with our new Unix vocabulary. tar, that's our command. It's a program for archiving files. -xzvf, these are short flags combined together. Let's split them out. X means extract, Z means the archive is compressed with a gzip, V means verbose, so show me what's happening, and F means the next thing is a file name. And finally, chromosome1bedfiles.tar.gz, this is the argument that goes with the F flag, the file we're extracting. So in English, this command says, extract this gzip compressed archive and display what you're extracting verbosely. That's it. That's all it was saying. Once you know the anatomy, even a dense-looking command breaks down into plain language. Okay, before we wrap up, there are 2 more symbols you'll see constantly once you start combining commands, and they're worth knowing now that you understand the basics. The first is the pipe, written as a single vertical bar. A pipe takes the output of one command and feeds it directly into another command as its input. Here, ls-l lists everything in its current folder. Instead of dumping that output to the screen, the pipe sends it straight to grep, which is a different command that filters it down to only the lines containing .txt. 2 separate commands working together as one pipeline. You can chain more than 2 if you want. Now we're listing files, filtering for txt files, and then using wc to count how many lines came out the other end. Each pipe just hands the result to the next command in the line. The second symbol you should know is called the output redirection operator, or redirect for short. This is written as a greater than sign. Instead of sending output to another command like the pipe does, this writes the output directly to a file. So if we run ls-l with our redirect, instead of printing the list of directories to your screen, this saves it to a file called filelist.txt. If that file doesn't exist yet, it gets created. If it already exists, it gets completely overwritten. So be a little careful when using the single caret. And we can also view this file quickly with the command cat. Same output as ls, except now written to a file. Alrighty, let's recap. Every Unix command follows the same basic anatomy. The command is the program you're running, options change how it behaves, arguments tell it what to act on. You can chain commands using the pipe operator where the outputs of the first command becomes the inputs of the second command. You can use the redirect to write the output to a file, and finally, you can use the man command to look up information about any Unix command. Thank you so much for watching, and happy coding!